Hi, this is Grace Pamela at Smarta.com, and I'm going to go over how to shoot for optimum bokeh in your camera. I want to go over the science behind it, just kind of like the basics on what lenses you can use, how to get the best bokeh possible for your images, and how the different shapes are created and the different colors, all of that fun stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and get started right now. Alright, so the science. Where does bokeh actually come from? You cannot get bokeh in sharp focus. The look is created when you have something lit up in the background which has gone out of focus. This soft focus allows the bokeh to appear. When you think about it, it's actually a fault of the camera lens, but it does look amazing, so instead of stamping it out, you as a photographer may try to encourage it to happen. So I'm going to go back to this image, and I'm going to show you what I mean by having your subject far So I'm going to go back to this image and I'm going to show you what I mean by having your bokeh in the background out of focus. So if she had a light right here next to her and it was a car light, it would most likely, be like this big. And it would be completely in focus and it would be right there. It would be a hard light. Now, if you shoot for the focus on her only, and the background is completely out of focus, now it's a soft, creamy light, and it's in the way background and it's far away, so it's not right next to her or anything like that. So that's what I mean by having it out of focus in the background. You may see some bokeh which is perfectly round, while others seem to almost have a collection of straight lines arranged in a circle. There's a reason for this. It's all down to the shape of your lens, which will impact the shape of the bokeh. If your lens has a circular shaped blades coming together to create your aperture, then you will see a more circular bokeh. If you have a hexagonal aperture, then the shape of your highlights will take on this form as well. So it's pretty interesting, all the different kinds of shapes that you can get. If you look in on your if you look in your lens, you can see the blades and you can actually tell what kind of bokeh you're going to get. Or you can just go ahead and start shooting and then you'll be able to tell also. So the lens. Other than the shape, there are more factors to consider when choosing your lens. Not just any old lens will do. It would need to be a fast one, and the faster the better. Essentially, you need to get a lens which can go down to at least an aperture of 2.8. 1.4 or 1.2 is going to be the ideal solution if you want to get the optimum bokeh. Prime lenses are very popular choices for photographers for this very reason. I always usually recommend prime lenses for portrait photographers if they are trying to get that look. There's different kinds of looks that photographers will want to shoot for, and if having that soft, creamy bokeh in your background is a look that you want, then you're definitely going to want to get the aperture as open as possible and shoot wide open with your lens. A great starter lens for this would be the 50mm 1.4. It's definitely not a super expensive lens, and most photographers have that. It's usually their first go-to lens just because it's not so expensive, but it's also really great for bokeh and getting the very start for practicing to shoot for bokeh. Other great lenses are the 85mm 1.4, the 70 to 200mm 2.8, and that would be, you get the best bokeh if you're shooting wide open and at 200mm for that lens. And also the 105mm and the Sigma Art 50mm I've heard great things about, and also the 200mm. This is a very expensive lens, but it definitely has beautiful, gorgeous bokeh. If you can't get your hands on a fast lens, you can still try this out. Instead of going for the lower range apertures, you can still get bokeh at 0.8. All you have to do is increase the distance between your subject and the background. So it all goes back to that, where you want to have your light way in the background and your subject up close and in focus. For optimum bokeh, you will need to be sure that your subject is far from the background and that there is light in the background. This can be already there light, such as street lights in the background, or this can be brought in by you, such as hanging a string of lights behind your subject. Now remember, you don't want to hang them directly behind your subject's head. You want to have it back in the distance where it can be seen, but it'll be out of focus by your camera and your lens. You can change up your bokeh by moving your subject further away or closer to your background, or changing your light source. So you can completely change the different ways that your bokeh can be shot and created in camera. So I hope this was a great starter tutorial on how to shoot for the best bokeh in camera. And I wanted to touch base on the colors too. See all the different colors for your bokeh that can be completely created and transformed by you by being either in control or not. This is a street, so obviously you're not in control of the colors and the shapes. So this is going to be a setting where you might find naturally in your settings already. But if you wanted to have a little more control over the colors of your light, you can also bring in different colors. So let's say instead of a string of white lights, you might bring in a string of white and blue lights. Then you can have blue bokeh in your background. So it all completely depends on the kind of theme you're going for, the type of shoot, the type of overall toning in your image that you want to shoot for. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments and I would be happy to answer them. Thank you all so much for watching, and special thank you to Lindsey Lee Photography for letting me showcase her gorgeous image with her naturally shot bokeh in the background. Alright, bye guys!